Hello, everybody. This is Darren Redmond, and if you're listening to this episode's dropping the day after Christmas. So, Merry Christmas to everybody out there. Hope you had a good time. And I am talking to Megan Mckeon again for the first time. This is a friend, and this is what I call a transitionary friend. This is somebody who was friends with friends of my daughter, and so they knew each other. And now, as we all age, and God knows, look at me, I do. Um, this is not my friend. And this is somebody that uh, I'm impressed with on so many levels. And we're going to talk about this somebody's emerging acting career and in theater and in making people happy while you make yourself happy. Megan Mckeon, who I spoke to before on some very tough issues. We'll touch about those, but this is really about going forward. Megan McKeon's my guest today. How are you, my friend?
I'm good. How are you?
Well, here's the big question as I'm halfway through my cup of coffee. Do we drink coffee, and if so, how?
I do drink coffee. It depends on how I'm feeling. If I'm at work, I drink it black.
Okay, I'm a little
Um,
tough
I
person. I'm sorry. I'll be over
um,
here.
if I it really just depends because I'll either have it with cream, like a tiny little bit of creamer. I like my coffee strong.
Me
Um,
too.
yeah, I have not had a cup yet. I'm very tired. I'm not kidding you. My alarm was set for 9 o'clock so I could like wake up and like have a
Hmm.
cup of coffee. I woke up at like 5 minutes before I logged on.
Well, first of all, thank you for doing that. All I can say is I've been there. I understand. Um, there was this wonderful in the Charlie Brown the Peanuts cartoon. There's this wonderful cartoon one time when they asked Linus, how strong do you like your coffee? And they project when they get older. Melted crayon. That's me. I like it as thick and as intense and as rich as possible. You know, if you struggle to drink coffee through a straw, that would be me. I like a nice wake up. Here we go. Anyway, though I
Gross.
do put cream in it without sugar, so it's pathetic. Anyway, how you been?
I've been good. I've been super busy and go, 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 and I have no time to really breathe and take time for myself.
Well, and seriously, I appreciate the time. And the unfortunate reality, folks, is one of the reasons we were able to get this episode in during this time is Meg was going to go visit family, and like many of you, if you're sitting in the airport right now, trying to get back or trying to go where you're going, um, uh, Meg and I are giving you a case of the feels right now because she's been part of that. Talk about what you were going to do, and travel stopped it, didn't it?
Yeah, I was gonna go visit my family up in Portland, and weather got too bad because there's supposed to be there are severe ice storms and snowstorms. So our we were gonna drive up there, and we decided it was probably better to be safe than sorry. So we're gonna be at home, but we might drive up on Monday for a late Christmas
Which is
kind of
fine, right? I mean,
holiday.
just celebrate when you do, and safety first.
Yeah.
So for those people out there, and shame on you, who don't know who you are, you want to give them a little backstory?
Yeah. Do you want like my story? Do you want my like
The
anything?
world is your oyster, my friend.
Cool. So if you know me, if you followed me from Don't Hide the Scars, you know I'm Megan. I was burned when I was 5 months old. I lost my left leg and I have 55% burns, or 55%. I have burns over 55% of my body with second to fourth degree burns. If you didn't follow me from Don't Hide the Scars, that's who I am. I also do theater full time. I love my life. Um my I my life is so surrounded by theater right now. I'm not very interesting.
Isn't that interesting that you mentioned that because you are committed to making yourself and people happy, which is so interesting. But people don't realize. We'll talk a little bit about this. Um, it's not that interesting when you do it every day
Mm,
because the work that you have to put in to make it look effortlessly is a lot of hard work.
it's a lot of work. I mean, I told you previously, I'm at the theater like 40 hours a week, sometimes until like 1 or 2 a.m.
So let's talk about that resiliency. And people like to say, let's teach those kids, those younger kids today. But I'm sorry, because the world is changing. Whether you are, 25 or 55 or 65, And you have to make a shift in your life, either because you have to or because you finally want to become your inner self who you've always wanted to be. You have to be resilient. Walk us through how you got involved in the theater and your love for it. I know we mentioned something briefly you might want to tell people about. When did you fall in love with the arts?
Yeah. So my mother knew I was going to be a theater kid when I was like 2 or 3. I was a very severe ADHD kid, bouncing off the walls, never shutting up, et cetera, et cetera. Just a lot of trauma that I was dealing with and trying to express my emotions. So I just was a crazy kid. And so we were going to see Grease in London. It was my very first show. And I sat there silently and oh so still that I think my mother thought I was like possessed. I was
Who took
the
my kid? Who's this?
yeah, so I think my mother knew I was going to be a theater kid then. I didn't actually get into it fully until I was about 8 years old. My dad actually, he's the main reason I got into it. He auditioned for a show over at Second Space back in 2008. It was Christmas Carol. I also auditioned for that show for Tiny Tim because I figured that was a fun role that I could do. He got cast in the show and I didn't. That was the end of my acting career. But I grew up going to all of his shows. I grew up going to all the dress rehearsals, all the rehearsals, cast parties. And I just fell in love with it. And then I got to high school
So
and
hold on, I'll stop you there. So you were a theater kid watching the process by proxy,
mhm.
right? So that has to be wonderful.
Yeah, it got to a point where I started saying my father's lines out loud in the theater before he actually said his lines.
Right.
um, but then I got to high school, I started doing my own shows. And then my mom died. I took like a 4 or 5 year hiatus, and then I just kind of dove
And,
headfirst
and
into
we're not
theater
going to
now.
go into that deep today, but people, you need to understand one time, listen to the old podcast, or the woman was a saint.
Yeah, she was. Yeah, so took a dive headfirst into theater this year, and it's now consuming my entire life.
No, but I want to stop you there because you started, and I know this because we follow each other on social media and we talk. I mean, you did not start with on an on stage or even a backup role. I mean, you started working. You know, I mentioned this to you before we started this recording, that you started this route that a lot of people go through, who a lot of people won't go through this process. Tell people how you started where you are right now.
So I got a job working in the box office back in April. And because I wasn't doing anything at the time, I was just hanging out at home. Um, and the position came available. My dad said, "Hey, you should apply." I applied way before I even got a call saying that they wanted to interview me, before they even released the applications. So they called me, "Hey, do you want an interview?" I was like, "Yeah, sure, that sounds great." I went in. I was it was right around daylight savings time.
Mhm.
So my clocks were still wrong. I was a half an hour late to my interview, which I about wanted to sob. I didn't think I was going to get the job because I was like, "Oh my God, they're going to think I'm some like Neanderthal who just is late to everything. I'm not going to get this job."
Right.
Thank God everybody knew me though, because I grew up at that theater. Um, and they had also seen me like show up to my call times for shows and knew I was always on time and like even early most of the time. So I got the job, or I interviewed, I got the job, and I've been working there since April. And I love it. I really do. I think it's something that I could see myself doing for a long time. I love the people there. I love the workers. I mean, it's a great environment. It's a place that people honestly don't leave. They'll leave, but they'll come back because they're so drawn to it. We get great benefits. It's just great people. It's a great group of people. Our kitchen staff is amazing. Our service staff is amazing. Our box office staff, just everybody. I love it.
But let's talk about how you make it, because you're doing both. You're on stage, behind the stage, work front office, box office.
Mhm.
Talk to people, and again, they don't need to be young. Making that transition. You're happy where you're working. You love the fact that you're in the box office, but you're like, I want to get on stage. Talk to us about that transition, because people, they might know you for years, but if you don't have the chops, you're not the chops.
Yeah. I mean, it's a lot of work. Because I mean, our shows are in general are just a lot. It's a huge time commitment. They run for 3 months, but then you have 6 weeks before that of rehearsals. So it's a total of like, I don't know, a lot of months. My brain's not doing math right now in my head.
Mine never does, so
It's
that's good.
early.
Yeah.
Um, so it's a lot of work, but it's a lot of fun. I I don't know, you just kind of do it. If you want to do it, just do it. It's that's
So I'm going to jump ahead a little bit on one of the questions I have. So you're actually, while one show is going on, you have that traffic in that lane going that direction. You're already developing the next play?
Yeah, so we're in rehearsals right now for our next show, and those started in November. So one show closes, they have like 2 or 3 weeks of a break, and then we're right back into rehearsals. And the guys in the scene shop who build all the sets, they are already building the sets for the show. The costume designers are already working on the costumes, getting everybody fit. So it's a lot. I mean, it's months of just prepping and everything.
You know, people don't realize how much of a team effort it takes. I mean, you can have a wonderful actor, she or he, whoever that is, kind of like, that's a compelling piece. But I have to tell you, as somebody who ran a spotlight for years as well, um, you're off your mark. They remember that.
Oh yeah.
You ruin without blame. The truth is, you ruin that performance sometimes if you're off mark. Like somebody's supposed to be in a solo spotlight, and you hear this wonderful voice, this angelic voice, and you're like, who is that? It's just the dark, because you're in the wrong spot. And people remember that, and there's giggles, and it breaks continuity, and the other things. It really is a team effort, isn't it? I mean, it's everything.
It is. It's the sound, it's the lights, it's the spots, it's also the actors. Thank God we have, so we're really, I don't want to say short staffed. I don't think that's the right
No,
word. In a sense,
right.
we are short staffed, based off of actors and just even like tech people. We only have like 2 or 3 tech people, one of them who does almost every single show, because everybody else is just either doing lighting or they're doing, whatever it may be. And so one of our guys has done almost every single show this year. We have only a handful of stage managers. Stage managing, I give major props to them, because especially right now with everything with COVID, it's a mess. Because our theater is running smoothly, but it's also dealing with everything with COVID and understudies, and yeah, it's fun. And then we're like short on spotlight people, we're short on lighting designers. I think we only have like 3 lighting designers total. And then because of our COVID restrictions, we also are very limited on our actors at auditions. We just had auditions like 2-3 weeks ago, and we used to get like hundreds in at the auditions, but because of our COVID restrictions, we only had like 32 show up, which is very, very like small amount compared to what we used to have. And that's for 2 show auditions, because we do 2 show auditions at a time. We do the second and third slot show auditions for that one. And between the 2 shows, only 32 showed up.
So I'm going to digress. We're talking about what you do, and the place is called Roger Rockers. Talk about, and it's something I've told people this many times. There's three very boring things to most people, but I love them. If I was independently wealthy, I would want to open an old-fashioned movie theater that just shows one movie, where you can also have the local high school band come in, and some plays, and give that intimacy with the popcorn in the background and all. I would love to have a dinner theater, because I think that that really speaks to a time that is slowly, unfortunately, moving away. Because I
Mhm.
think in-person performances are just outstanding, and they fill you with culture, and they fill you with. I know that's what happened to me. Being blessed to be born, and I use the word meanly. I mean it. To be blessed to live in New York City, and to be 14 or 15 and going to Broadway, and then seeing off Broadway shows, and it was just everything to me. Kept me out of trouble and certain different things. And then the third thing is, I'd love to make a documentary about carnies, and I mean that sincerely. Like, there are families that have been involved in carnivals for 70, 80 years. So there must be something there. They're not running for the law. They're wonderful people. They just like to entertain. They know they're not going to ever be famous. They know that they're never going to have the star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, but they just love to perform. And I love talking to people like that, and they have that passion. Um, Roger Rocker is almost a throwback, but yet it's very modern. Talk about it.
So we're going on to our 50th season next year.
Wow.
So they've been open a long time. Something to be very proud of, because it's a great establishment, a lot of great people. But yeah, so you've got kind of the old theater feel, but you've got the modern people, some of the modern shows. It's fun, and I feel like you're right. We don't see a whole lot of dinner theaters around these days. And I love doing the dinner and the show when I'm not in a show. So it's a lot of fun. I think dinner theaters need to be around more.
Oh, I do too. I do too. And you kind of speak to it. The logistics is really tough,
Mhm.
because here's the thing: you can have the greatest performance, wonderful acoustics, lighting is nice, the seating is nice, where you're not all cramped in eating like a praying mantis. The food has to be good. The service has to be good. There's
It
so many moving parts.
our chef is incredible.
Yeah, the food there's
Is
fantastic.
amazing. I literally don't think I've ever had anything that I don't like for food. And I grew up going there. I mean, I've been going there since I was 8 years old. We used to do the brunch, we used to do the buffet, we used to do dinner. It's like you have so many options, and there's not a thing I haven't liked. The
Mm.
food is phenomenal. Our chef is amazing. Major props to him and everybody who works in the kitchen. I cannot say enough good things about our kitchen staff. They work their butts off.
Oh, I'm sure. And without making it into an infomercial, but it's reality. It's how I feel. I think it's sized perfectly too, because it's not overly big. It's not small. It's perfect.
I was just saying that to my dad. I think the portions are perfect, because
Yep.
you feel full, but sometimes, I mean, sometimes you feel overly full if you just like ate right before you came, which I try not
Correct.
to do. But it really is like portioned so well. You get like the perfect amount of food and you don't feel overly full.
So, if you had your druthers, what's one musical, because we talked about the fact you love musicals, that you would love to do, you have not done yet, and what role would that
Oh,
be?
oh man, there's a lot. That's a hard question. I don't think I could just pick one.
Oh no, that's
Rent,
okay. That's all right.
Rent is one of them. I love
Mm.
Rent. Um, me and a lot of the cast and crew talk about this on the regular, what shows we'd want to do. Um, oh, what's another one? I don't even. Hmm. I think Anything Goes is another one that I think would be really fun. Um, ooh, what's those are like the top two that I can only think of off the Little Shop of Horrors or Rocky Horror Picture Show.
which
Those are,
is I played Frankenfurter. And
yeah,
so yeah, just that that speaks to my heart. And
yeah,
let's talk.
those are shows that are fun. I don't know, there's so many that it's like hard to choose because I've seen so many shows in my life that it's nuts.
It's obvious that you love the process, and there's so much respect, and that's why I have a tough time. Well, I heard one of the gentlemen from Tremendous Pictures, Travis, talk about this, and I agree. I will never publicly, um, even if I don't like a performance, knock a performance. I might say that so and so did a good job of this or that, but people don't realize the work that goes into it. And there are going to be times, and I can't speak for you. If you want to, fine. Like I played college football, right? And I knew that sometimes we were going to get our ass kicked. We were not ready to win that game.
Mhm.
But you know what? These are my teammates. These are my performance, and the individuals who are giving their all. It's not about how it ended up. It's not about the results. It's about the work that they put in, and I respect the heck out of them. So I am not ever going to speak to. I might say, for example, Grease 2. Let's use that. Not my favorite movie in the world. But I'm not going to sit here and mock the movie. These are
Mhm.
actors trying to get paid. These
Yeah.
directors who are trying to put what's presented to them in the best light, in the best fashion, if you know where I'm trying to say. So you,
Mhm.
you probably have a sensitivity to that as well, don't you?
Yeah, I mean, we've definitely just from doing as many shows as I have this year, we've definitely had people who like haven't liked the show that we've been doing and will just like get up at intermission and just leave. And it's
Right.
like, I mean, sure, you can leave if you're not enjoying it, but at least they don't leave like during the middle of the show because we have had people do that too.
No, well, see, do you understand that that's different? That's rude and
Yeah.
obnoxious. Um, unless there's an emergency that you have to leave, just be a nice individual and just sit there and golf clap or whatever the case may be, because these people are giving it their all.
Yeah. Well,
Uh,
and our actors and crew members and everybody, they put their all into it. It's something that they're super passionate about and they want to give the audience something to enjoy and enjoy themselves. And it's a lot of work. I mean, I don't really think they know how. I mean, especially with this show coming up, we're doing Singing in the Rain for our first show for the 50th anniversary, and I'm so excited. I'm like thrilled. I can't wait to go to rehearsals. Um, it's, I mean, from what I've heard from everybody after, the shows, it's been a long time coming. They've been, doing this since the 21st of November, starting with
mhm.
vocal rehearsals, and um now they're like just finishing with the blocking of everything, and it's been a long time coming, but I think it's going to be a really good show.
So I'm going to ask you again for advice. Give people some advice. So, like, I've recently, and I'm going to put these into my words. So, on my recent podcast, I've spoken to Jeffrey Reddick, the creator of the Final Destination movies. I just interviewed again John Swab, Body Brokers, and the new release Candyland. What do you look for in an actor, in in stage people background, and give people some key tips on how not to get hired? Like like, for example, one of them who talked about, if you can't work as a team, you can't be here. Those kind of things. What are some best practices? Because sometimes people are like, I'm going to give it my all. You're like, well, you need to understand, yes, but you need to work in the collective. Talk about that.
Yeah. One of the things that we've had problems with in the past is we've had people get cast in shows, go through like 2 or 3 weeks of rehearsals, and then just drop out.
Ooh.
Um, and then have really bad attitudes when they don't get cast in the next show because of it, because they've done it so many times. We Yeah, that seems to be one of the bigger things, is like being not reliable. It's really hard because I mean, we cast these shows months in advance we do rehearsals 6 weeks before opening night, and then we don't have anybody come 3 weeks in, and it's like, well, crap, what are we gonna do? I mean, we're already so short on getting people at auditions that it's like we're calling people and being like, hey, we have a role, come do the show. I mean, it's I think that's one of the bigger things, at least on our end, because we've definitely had some people drop here and there. And it's not so much a big deal if it's like once, I think, because there have been times where it's like one time, but then they're like super reliable coming like from then on. But I think if you do it constantly, it's really hard to get cast, because it's like, okay, are we going to be able to rely on you? Are you going to drop out? Are you going to flake? Like, it's I think that's the bigger thing, so don't be a flake.
Right, right. So here's a question I've always had, and it's specific to um, stage performances.
Mhm.
I remember playing in Tom Sawyer, the role of Sid, and I started as a backup. Um, what is your philosophy, without giving away industry secrets? You have understudies. Do you rotate them in just to keep them fresh, or is their job strictly backup?
It's yeah, so we only hmm,
Right.
at rehearsals they have understudy runs, so there'll
Mhm.
be like one or two, maybe 3 nights that they'll do an entire run through, and it'll be them in the understudy role that they're in. um and then we don't rotate them while we're doing the show necessarily, which might be a good idea, truthfully, but we've never had any issues with understudies because our understudies are usually wonderful.
Mhm.
um but we've had understudies go on for entire runs of shows because something happens, or you
Mhm.
know um but yeah, so our main thing is just to have them do run throughs during rehearsals, to make sure that they've got it down, and if not, and they can also get notes from the director. But they're always, I think, running lines for their role and making sure that they have it down in case if something happens. And especially with these days with COVID, because we've had so many people out, it's understudies aren't uncommon going on these days at Roger Rocka's.
So let's give people a glimpse into your process. There's some people, all right, if I got a show at 7, I like to get there at 4. I like to be by myself, read my lines. Others, I like to go to the gym before. So what is your pre and post process?
Ooh, I don't really think I have a pre. Our call times are either 6:30 or 7 or 12:30 on Sundays because we have our matinees. And I usually get there 15 minutes before call time just so I
Mhm.
can hang out. And I one of my favorite things to do is just to hang out in the booth and watch all the people like sitting down, having conversations, having a good time. Because one of the things that I've noticed at Roger Rocka's is there aren't a lot of phones, because you're at these like tables of 6, 8, 10, and
Mhm.
4. And usually the 4 tables, it's a party of 4 and they're all like one group. But at like the tables of 8 or 10, it's like people that you don't know that you're sitting with that you can just like talk to if you want to and like get to know, which I think is really fun. So that's one of my favorite things, is just to see all the people just hanging out, having fun, laughing, talking, getting to know each other. But I don't really have any like pre-rituals that I do. I'm up in the booth like 5 minutes before showtime, just getting ready, getting my script open and everything, and just getting ready. But that's really it for me. I'm not super ritually. Sometimes I'll go upstairs if I'm early to call, and I'll hang out with the cast if some of them are there. Um, and
So
then
you
after,
catch, so you catch, you're more of a vibe person. You catch the vibe.
yeah, that's really it. I love just interacting with the people or just hanging out. Our I hang out with the stage manager. I hang out, wherever I kind of want, and just watch and see.
So it's located downtown,
Mhm.
the Roger Rock. And you, because you're old enough now, from the time you're 8 to now, I mean, you've seen the wonderful. For people, if you haven't been to the Tower District, you got to go.
I love
It's a
Tower
vibe.
District.
Talk a little
It's
bit about that.
so, I love Tower District. I always was pretty, like, as a kid, I was scared of it just because there was a lot of like homeless stuff. And
Mhm.
um I think it's gotten maybe a little safer now, I want to say. I mean, I could totally be wrong about that, so don't quote me on that.
Right.
Um, but I love Tower. It's just this cute little, I mean, working there it's a little scary at night, but thank God for our security guard who is absolutely amazing. I love him.
Mhm.
He just makes sure everybody's safe, there was one time I will say, and I was talking about this, was it 2 days ago? I was walking into the theater in the back door, and some homeless guy with a shopping cart chased me to the back door, and it was really scary. Uh,
No, it's
but
yeah.
I mean, it's fun. I love Tower. I mean, I get to walk to like get lunch every day and like whatever place I want to eat at because everything's just so close together.
You got
Uh,
that great. You got that great pizza shop right across the street.
I was just about. Are we talking about
Oh,
Ed's or Richie's?
Richie's.
Yeah, okay.
Oh,
I was just about to talk about Richie's. I
absolutely.
I love Richie's. I love their food. Their pizza's to die for. That's all I've ever had is their pizza.
Yeah.
I've never had any of their hot dogs or whatever. But the owners are the sweetest. I
Oh, excellent,
absolutely love them.
excellent.
They are amazing, and I cannot give them enough props. They work their butts off, and I love them. I love Richie's. I cannot say enough about them. The other place that I really like is oh my God, what is that place called? It's the smoothie place. Um, oh, it's gonna drive me nuts. I have to look this up. It's ugh.
Well, while you're looking that up, people, this is here. Look, a shameless plug for Richie's. Excellent,
Ah,
right?
I love Richie's, and their pizza is like really good, and it's really like priced well,
Oh, it is priced well, and
and
it's
they're
unbelievable.
huge.
Yep,
The
yep,
slices are like the size of my head.
yeah, and they really
They're
are. And coming from New
massive.
York, I'm like, I feel like I'm home.
Yeah. It's amazing. I love Richie's. I cannot say enough about them. Tower Blends, that's what it's
Oh,
called.
very nice. Yep.
I love Tower Blends. I go there, I get their salads or their avocado toast, and their smoothies are really good. What's another place? Oh, Quesadilla Gorilla. That's like a fad right now that I'm going through.
Mhm.
I love Quesadilla Gorilla. It's not walking distance from work, unfortunately. I mean, it is if
Right,
I really wanted to, but
right,
I'm not going to do that.
nor me. I choose not
uh,
to.
Well, and then Ampersand's is right next door to Quesadilla Gorilla too. So you
Yes.
can get your lunch and then you can like have like some ice cream. Oh, I love Ampersand's.
But
Oh,
you got a wonderful parking lot out there. My thoughts to people, recommendation is if you haven't been here yet, you go downtown, you go through the stores, you go to the shops, you walk around, you have some ice cream, build up an appetite. You're going to eat wonderful food at Roger Rocker, and you're going to see a great performance.
mhm.
Um, before I let you go, um, you're a lifer when it comes to theater, I can tell.
Mhm.
Um, where do you want to be 10 years from
Ooh. Um, I I've been so itchy to get like out of Fresno. But I think since I really got involved this year with the Rockas and I got my job that I love so much, um, I'll probably be settled down in Fresno. Maybe touring with national tours, I'm hoping.
That's what, see, it's funny. That's where I see you. I see you, again, you do you, right? I'm a bit you do you person, you know that.
Yeah.
Doing the old buffet style. You do a national tour and you come back home to Roger
Yeah.
Rockets. You know, you
Yeah. Well,
go,
and that's how a lot of because we've had people come out of we've had Audra McDonald come out of Roger Rocka's. If you don't know, she's had some shows. She was in the live action Beauty and the Beast. She was the wardrobe.
yes.
She was on Private Practice, a lot of
Mhm.
different stuff. She's won a bunch of Grammys, a bunch of Tonys, whatever. She's come out of Roger Rocca. She was a junior company member when she was little. We've had Louise Mandrell come out of Roger Rocca's. We've had who else? Chris Colfer from Glee, who played
Mhm.
Kurt in Glee. Who else? There's quite a bit of people who have come out of Roger Rocka's who are now on TV, Broadway,
Right.
etc. Um, so it's, maybe I'd tour if I could get into it. But I think Roger Rocka's is like the heart of personally, I think it's the heart of Tower
No, it
because
is.
I
Everything you've
mean,
put about it.
I think, you've got the Tower District and they have like events there, but I think Roger Rocka's is really kind of the heart of Tower, in my opinion.
I think you're right. And, I want to thank you for being my guest today. And so, as we segue out of 2022, what are your short-term goals for 2023?
Oh, I'm hoping to be moved out of my dad's house. um, I'm hoping to have enough money to put a down payment on a house.
Good for you.
So I've got some money saved up. So I'm hoping by middle or end of 2023 I'll be out. Let's see what else. Um, be a better friend and daughter and sister. That's more of a long time goal though, I think. That's something I could definitely work on.
Well, here's where I'm going to speak to you from a distance. We've talked about that briefly in the past. I think you're a lot better friend, and I know you're a great daughter than you give yourself credit for. And I truly, if I didn't believe that, one, I wouldn't say it, and two, I wouldn't be so uh, aggressively following your career and who you are in life.
Mhm.
Because I made a commitment to help people by grace, but people are negative, people are hostile. I just want no part of them. I wish them well, from a distance. That's not you. You, uh, you are a person who cares about people. And I think sometimes you confuse the fact of you're like, wait a minute, this isn't right, or this isn't the way it should be with being a bad person. Sometimes when you tell the truth, people need to hear the truth. Maybe we could say different ways. I know I could with this Brooklyn accent. I always sound like I'm hostile. 2 weeks ago, I'm buying something. I forget what it was. And the kid, because everybody's a kid to me, right? Behind the counter. I'm like, well, before we move on, this is an accent. I'm not mad at you. He goes,
Mhm.
oh, thank goodness. You sounded angry. I go, no, I'm not angry. It's just my voice. Um, but I do want to ask you one thing. Because again, I talk to people older than me who still have this problem.
Mhm.
Shy people don't eat, right? Talk to people how important it is. If you want something, you gotta let people know. It doesn't mean you're gonna get it
Mhm.
because that's been you your whole life. You've had your voice, or at least when you wanted to do something, you've done it. Talk about that before we end.
My mom's a big reason for my attitude about life. I think she's really allowed me to speak up um and have my own voice, but also to reach for my goals. And she has always had a lot of faith in me and has told me that pretty much just because I have a disability, it doesn't mean that, I can't get what I want in life. Um, and I think one of the biggest things right now is I just want peace in my life. I this year I've had a lot of growth. Personally, I've definitely grown a lot this year personally. Um, and I think a lot of it has to do with doing something that I love. And I think my mom is a big reason because she always told me, reach for what you love, do what you love. And I can also thank my dad definitely for this year as well. He's the
Who's
one
a
that,
funny person, my friend.
yeah, honestly, my dad's the reason I think I'm as busy as I am this year because he's the one that got me back into theater and got me my job, or at least told me to
No, right.
apply for it.
You. I was gonna say you got you your job,
Yeah,
but all
he
he
told
did
me to
is say,
apply for
you
it.
point correct. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, props to my dad for this year.
Right.
But I think just, you gotta do what you love. And if you don't do what you love, go find what you love because I
Mhm.
think why be miserable if you're
100%.
not, there's no reason to be miserable in a job that you hate. I mean, does it pay well? Sure, but do you love it? No. Why are you doing it?
Right. Listen, people, if you want a quote unquote Christmas message, a holiday message, uh, a mantra to follow in the new year, that's it. Why be miserable?
It's true.
You know. Well,
Yeah.
thank you so much, Meg. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
So, somebody who wants to find you, I don't mean in like a stalkerish kind of weird way. I mean, watch you perform or get to know more about you. How do they get in contact with you or follow you? Or
If you want to know more about my life, just look me up on Google.
yes, yes, this is.
Literally, just look up Megan McKeon Clovis.
Mhm.
There's tons of news articles on Google about my life, and if you want to come see a show at Rocka's, call the box office at 559-266-9494. I say that a million times a day on the phone.
And you do
Um,
very well.
Also, you can go online and buy tickets at rogerrockers.com. Pick a show that you want to come see, how many people, and send it in. We'll make the reservation for you. You can also come in person at 1226 Wishon Avenue in Fresno, right across the street from the Tower District. Come see a show.
Right. Absolutely. Thank you so much, my friend.
Yeah, not a problem.